Hello my friends, William Poloniak here again from Whole Health Foundation in sunny, beautiful Southern California. Today I'm making a juice with mostly red Swiss chard and garden-picked garlic plus a number of other ingredients. Let me show you my ingredients. Right, in addition to my garlic and my red Swiss chard, I have beets, collard greens, some broccoli that was starting to go to seed, so I thought I would juice it, 140 grams of turmeric, and about 140 grams of ginger, and of course carrots. So let's make some juice. Before I begin, I want to point out that I'm using the 6-blade near zero blowback cutter and the front-loading feed tube. Now either of these by themselves will give you nearly zero blowback when you're processing your vegetables. And I want to point out why the front-loading feed tube can provide almost zero blowback. Now when shredding your vegetables, the 6-blade near zero blowback cutter shreds produce so well you get almost zero blowback. However, in addition to that, you have the front-loading feed tube, and if you get any blowback at all, it goes up and it hits the angle, and that decreases the momentum and the kinetic energy of any blowback almost to zero. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to use the near zero blowback cutter and the front-loading feed tube and make some juice, but first I'm going to put in 3 ice cubes and plug in my thermometer. Now I'll begin by putting the ice cubes through to cool down the cutter and the feed tube. And I'm going to start with the red Swiss chard, 2 or 3 leaves at a time. Now remember, because the cutter does such a good job, you're going to be tempted to put in more produce, but don't do that. Less produce is more effective. Look at that, just like a hot knife through butter. I want to point one thing out. I've had a few people, competitors mostly, try to poo-poo my 6-blade cutter. Think about it for a minute. You have a cutter with over 110 sharp teeth that's going to shred the produce much, much better than a cutter with only blades. So let's continue. I'll put some ginger through now. Now it's a good idea, especially when you put fibrous things like ginger through, to clean your grid often. The more often you clean your grid, the better your juicer is going to work. So you put the grid in the palm of your hand, not like so, but in the palm of your hand, and scrape the pulp off from both sides. Reassemble and continue juicing. Now I've done all of my red Swiss chard, and next I'm going to do my turmeric. A couple more ice cubes. I want to keep below 23 if possible. 23 degrees centigrade. Next we'll do some beets with tops. Looks like we're needing to clean that grid again. I can feel the motor working harder than it should. Okay, reassemble. And the last of my beets. Well, there's the end of my broccoli, so now what I'm going to do is my garden fresh picked garlic. Tops and all. Now it's a very good idea to do 2 things. Clean your grid often, both sides. And when you do fibrous things like garlic tops or beet tops, it's very possible your cutter will get jammed with fiber. I've already cleaned the cutter once. Let's take a look at the cutter now. And it's not bad. The garlic tops were not as bad as the beet tops. but there's a little bit of fiber on here that you clean off, and this helps you do a better job with other produce. Alright, now we'll start with the collard greens. And I'm not going to put in more than 3 at a time. Stem end in first. Now, one beautiful thing about the front-loading feed tube is I can see in here that my greens are not all shred. So what I'm going to do is push it through with a carrot. Next, I'm going to clean my grid and then do the rest of my carrots. And here's the last of my carrots. Now normally, no matter what feed tube you're using, there's always a plug of produce in here, and the nice thing about the front-loading feed tube is you can actually see in there. So what I'm going to do is take a couple of clumps of pulp, and I'm going to force that last plug through so that everything gets shred. Now because my bowl is very, very full, I'm going to have to be very careful mixing this produce. I want to mix the carrot pulp very thoroughly with the greens because carrots helps green juice last longer. Now somebody once asked me, why do you wear gloves? Well, here's one reason. I don't want to use my hands, which you never know how clean they are. You can use your glove like a spatula and clean the edge of the juicing bowl. Now I'm going to show you my less work 6-cloth method again. And we'll start with 3 scoops of pulp. And normally my cloths are not this white. I just got these out of the laundry. I have over 100 cloths that I keep in sets of 6 because I don't like to do laundry every week. I like to do laundry every 2 or 3 months. So we'll fold that over in thirds like so. A little crease at the back. And look as I pull with my fingers under. Tuck that under. Set that aside to press later. 3 more heaping ladles of pulp. And again, fold it in thirds just like they came packaged. Fold at the back, tuck it under. And the first thing I'm going to do is put these first 2 cloths in the press. Now this is very important, centered left to right, centered front to back. You notice how I can reach in here and adjust that all the way back, back it off a little bit, and continue folding more cloths. Now when you're down to your last cloth, after you put in your first scoop, advance that all the way. 3 scoops into the last cloth. Now there are 2 methods to the less work 6-cloth method, and I'm going to show both of them to you. This goes forward, this goes over, the spent cloths go on top. Now the first method, well, first of all, center this left to right, reach in here and center it front to back. You notice how you can reach in this side, that's very, very important. All the way back, back it off a little bit. Now one method, when you have a puddle of juice in the collection bowl, and I do, is to take this spent pulp, crush it up, put it in the puddle of juice to absorb this extra juice that's causing this to puddle here. And we'll start again with 3 scoops. Now, flatten that. This goes forward, that goes over. The spent cloths go on top. And again, centered left to right, centered front to back, adjusted if need be, all the way back, back it off. Now because I've got a puddle of juice in here, I'm going to very, very carefully pour this into my collection bowl. And I mean very carefully. The first time I did this, I got it all over my countertop. You don't want to do that. Keep your eye on the bowl. It's getting very, very full. So let's do the less work 6 cloth method again. We're going to put 2 scoops of pulp on top of this. Flatten that, set it aside, advance that all the way when you're on your last cloth. Now, because I have a puddle of juice in the bowl, I'm going to put this spent pulp in the bowl to absorb that juice. But first, let's back this off. The bowl is getting very, very full. And as you can see, I've got a puddle of juice here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this pulp, crush it up, put it in the puddle of juice to absorb that juice. And then I'm going to put 3 scoops into the cloth. And then we'll make some more juice. Now that we've filled the bottles, the tray goes forward. 2 new cloths into the tray, centered left to right, centered front to back, adjusted if need be. Now I have a puddle of juice in my bowl and it's still collecting here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to crush my pulp into the puddle and continue all the way back it off, and then I'm going to continue filling cloths with pulp. 3 spoons. This goes forward, that goes over. The spent cloths go on top. 2 more cloths in the press. Centered left to right, centered front to back, adjusted if necessary, all the way back and back it off a little bit. Now what I'm going to do with this pulp is I'm going to form it into a tight ball, press it again to show you how the Whole Health Foundation Premium Model Juicer can make over 10% more juice. And that way you capture your micronutrients that are lost in most juices, because they throw away the pulp before you've gotten all the precious nutrients out of it. Centered left to right, centered front to back, adjusted if necessary, and usually it does need adjusting. You want that to be exactly in the center, all the way back it off a little bit, and we'll form this spent pulp into a tight package. Form it into a ball, as tight a package as you can make, and again, watch my folding technique. And we'll do that in both directions. We're doing it that way because we want to minimize slippage. And believe me, under such tremendous pressure, it's going to slip. If you don't do it properly, that is. So advance that all the way. Again, into a tight package. Now as you can see, I've repackaged my pulp into 3 double packets. I'm going to use the measuring beaker to see how much more juice we can get using the Whole Health Foundation Premium Model Juicer. So I'll set this bowl apart and we'll continue. First we'll flatten that as much as you can, put it in the tray, centered left to right, centered front to back. Make sure the tray's on there. Make sure it's centered. This is very, very important. All the way back. This time I'm not going to back it off immediately. As soon as I get juice flow, I'm going to back it off. There we go. Back it off a little bit. You do not want that to go up too fast. If it goes up too fast, it will slip. So we'll advance it a little bit more. Now there I've got 18 ounces of juice, and as you can see my container's full. So I'm going to pour it into my collection bowl, and I've got 2 more cloths full. We could probably crank out another ounce or 2. Looks like we're going to get another 2 ounces of juice. Now I'm topping my bottles off with distilled water. And then I'm going to cap them and put them in the fridge. Now, as you can see, we got 5, 10, 14 bottles of juice, plus enough for a taste test. And more than one of these bottles was from pressing the already spent pulp. But before I do a taste test, I want to show you the very last step in your juicing process. Now, the very last step is to press the water out, put the cloths in a plastic bag and into the freezer. And the reason we put them in the freezer is because germs cannot grow in the freezer. There we have the water pressed out. We'll put these in a plastic bag and into the freezer they'll go, and then we'll do a taste test. Well, here you have another batch of juice, mostly Swiss chard, garden-grown garlic, and a number of other greens. Let's give it a taste. Oh, it tastes pretty good. I think if I had added some French sorrel, it'd have a sweeter taste, but it's very palatable. And I hope you like what you've seen. If you do, please tell a friend. If you'd like to call me, my number is 760-753-0321. My email address is developtrust@cox.net, and my webpage is wholehealthfound.com. I'll see you in the next video. Absolutely delicious.